live?
Actually, you know.
Oh, not yet.
Let me make sure YouTube is. It still says going live on YouTube.
Instagram is.
Let's get YouTube going.
YouTube is later.
YouTube should be live. Maybe. Okay.
Let's.
We got YouTube?
You already said Facebook is good. Alrighty.
YouTube is.
Cool.
All right, welcome to episode 124. You know, and we're here to answer all your questions about 034 Motorsports. Certainly anything you'd like, any automotive general knowledge.
Happy Cyber.
It is supposedly Cyber Monday. We're not doing anything differently. We have our Black Friday sale running. Started last week, and it's been chugging along. And but it is interesting. Usually, Black Friday and Cyber Monday are our two biggest sales days. Even though we don't
The sales going. Yeah.
we don't do like tricks where it's like last day and then the sale continues, or lower prices later on, or I don't know. We don't do it. We just put it on sale. So, anyways, hopefully you've been able to take advantage of some good deals. If not, you still have time. I think the sale runs for another couple weeks. 2 more weeks, yeah. To the 12th of December. But if you're thinking about buying something, you may want to do it sooner than later because, inventory is getting hammered right now. So if you order later, it just might end up shipping later because we run out of stock or something. But even if your order is out of stock, we will ship it anyways. Woof woof. All right. So go ahead and ask your questions if you'd like, your comments. If you, like I always say, if you love us, let us know. If you hate us, let us know. We'll try to make you not hate us as much.
We'll do our best to correct that.
Hopefully you've been enjoying our meme blast on Instagram. I do think we lost one follower today.
Oh no!
Guy said that this was enough memes.
Oh, the memes?
Yeah, he was out. So
So
I think for the thousands of new followers we gained, we've lost at least one. But we have fun with it. Hopefully nobody gets too offended. Some of them are pretty dank, a little spicy. We pretty much shit in the mouths of all manual owners this morning. So did
one of those go up? I just scrolled past them.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's some pretty offended people in there. But
This is
to be fair, we all drive and love vehicles as well. So I'd say yeah. Again, self introspective humor.
Yeah. It takes solace in knowing that I made that meme and I'm probably better at driving manuals than you are. So yeah, boom.
You can get in the React video.
But I do like I do frankly prefer a automatically shifted transmission these days.
A good automatic. No, we're not talking like your
No, like a ZF8 for an automatic. I think is very
B6 S4 B5 S4 era stuff was
certainly
manual all the way for those.
No,
things.
those are terrible. I'm not talking about the Tiptronic 3-speeds. But the new stuff's really good. The ZF8s, especially with programming, shifts wonderfully. Even this other 8-speed in the Q7.
ASIN.
What's it called?
ASIN.
ASIN A1000.
The ASIN A1000 shifts pretty darn nice for an automatic transmission. But the DSG stuff's great, obviously. So you just
To drive your Q7 because my Touareg is.
No, the Q7's was fine. I mean, you put it in sport mode. I honestly thought it was a ZF8. All right, so are these questions from last week, or we had this many questions?
We're getting rolling.
Okay. Let's see. All right, let's start off with this spicy question. Do you prefer catch can or recirculation? Okay, well, I think it would be. They're all catch cans, right? So the question is, do you recirculate or do you collect and don't? And I think here at 034, and me personally, which is why we're like this at 034, is I prefer recirculating.
Yep.
Because the oil that comes out of the engine isn't bad. It's not bad. The catch can doesn't collect the bad oil from your system. Now, what does happen is the catch can not only collects oil vapors, but it also it catches water and condensed water vapor. And so what is often in the cash can, what you see looks like mayonnaise, which is an emulsification. It's the same thing that's happening inside your motor, which is why your engine always has to be up to operating temperature. It's not the first time we've talked about this. There's lots of clip outs about this, I'm sure. But in general, I'm a proponent of letting that oil drain back to the motor. If there's some water in it, that's okay, because there's also water inside your engine block. And water ultimately evaporates and gets sucked out of the crankcase. It goes through your motor, essentially. So yeah, the problem with not recirculating or draining it back is the catch can will fill up. And then at some point the catch can cease to function. Because catch cans aren't designed to operate when full. So even if you do have a catch can, you still want to drain to some other reservoir to hold it. And at that point you may as well drain back to your well pan. New Mark 8 intake looks great. It's interesting that a turbo inlet adapter or elbow is not part of the system. Is there a reason for that? From what I can see, the Mark 8 inlet elbow is not as restrictive as the Mark 7. Is that why? Yes, this is a great question, very insightful. Here's the deal with the Mark 8 GTI and the 8Y S3. The factory turbo inlets are extremely good, and we have basically not been able to produce a design that flows any better than the factory one. So instead of forcing you to buy an inlet that doesn't necessarily improve the flow, we have chosen to just release the intake and use the stock inlet adapter. We are going to come out with some inlet adapters. Just warning you, they don't flow a lot more than the stock one. And then we will eventually offer a complete intake with the inlet for those that want to change it. What a lot of other companies chose to do is, instead of selling the inlet adapter separately, they packaged it in an intake system that flows more than stock. The flow gains are not necessarily from the inlet adapter itself. They're from the intake. So, that's where we're at. We will make them. We will release them. We will be honest about the flow improvements. One thing that we'd like to be able to do is to make these for big turbo upgrades in the future.
Yeah.
So that would be honestly the biggest reason to do this moving forward, would be to do a hybrid type TTE stuff.
Future proof it a little.
Right. Have you tested any of the inlets that claim performance flow gains?
We have. We got a hold of some of the other. We usually do this on these type of inlet products, and we benchmarked everything on the market, and nothing flows more than stock. So it's not like Mark 7 days, where I think our inlet adapter like 30%. Yeah, it's one of those flowing. It's like a solid 30% increase, and you can measure horsepower out the wheels. The new turbos, the inlets are extremely optimized. There's nothing wrong with them. Do you guys have an ETA on dynamic tuning for the dynamic plus tuning for the B9.5 A5s? I know the biggest issue with these have been the mild hybrid components. I don't know. Have we talked about this?
It's this. There is a mild hybrid in some of them, not all of them, but it's an A4, A5 already.
Okay. Yeah, for this application, this is not a high priority for us.
Can you see that question? Which?
It's at the very top.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking. Okay.
IE claims to be dropping TTE810 tune files today. Will 034 be responding? Yes, we will be releasing an A10 file hopefully this week.
Yeah, it's not that we're responding to this. We're at that.
No, that was just when we were gonna do it. Of course, we don't want to. Yeah, we're not gonna just sit on our laurels. But we will be releasing something this week.
We were in like the last stages. Testing and wrapping things up.
Yep.
Some altitude testing we're doing now to make sure, take it from sea level here where we do all our calibrations straight up to, whatever Tahoe or Colorado mountains you're hitting.
Mm-hmm.
No problems.
RS3 or RS5, which has more potential for some big power? Well, obviously RS3s are already making big power, but these are with, full frame turbo kits and really extensive modifications. I think the RS5 has more potential for more power, but we haven't realized it yet.
It's much younger in its development process, and I think the better question is how much power do you want? What is your end goal? And then what do you want out of the vehicle? They're very, very different cars. They drive very differently. And power is just a number. It's what do you want? What are you going to use this thing for? You just want a dyno queen? Do you want a quarter mile stuff? Just enjoy it on the road? Those are all very different vehicles to build.
Do the Camster plates fit the 8Y RS3? I only see the caster plates listed. And what should be expected in terms of NVH compared to stock? Yeah, they should. We should check the applications for that.
Yeah.
There's no reason it wouldn't fit. In my experience, the NVH is minimal. Very, very, very small. NVH is very subjective, and I know we've had some customers say that it was more noticeable, and some customers say that it's like stock. But in my experience, I would say that the NVH is minimal. It still has a factory rubber strut mount inside the plate
for the shock isolation.
It's just the density version, so it's stiffer. But this is not like a spherical or something like that. So NVH is minimal.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is literally like a 1/8 inch or 1/16 inch of like that rubber membrane where the bearing for the spring mounts is kind of the only thing that really has changed. It's very minimal.
There's also not a lot of NVH through the strut tops. I'm looking to get the 034 lowering springs, but heard a lot about the noises that it makes when installed. I was wondering if that is currently an occurring issue. Also, is there a proper install guide? I don't know what this would be about. I drive all 034 cars with 034 springs. None of them make noises. We do include some isolator, coil isolators with some of the springs that need them. This is an issue with all springs on the market that have to stack coils to get the car lower. But no, we sell a lot of springs. There are no widespread noises. The only way that they would make noise is if you installed them incorrectly or it didn't include all the parts needed. So anyone who's ever experienced a noise should contact us so we can get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, we don't want to have you out there. There should be no perceivable additional noise from a spring kit.
Yeah, the beauty of this product is it's just a lowering spring. It's simple in its execution. It's not like a coil. You're not changing all this stuff. So no.
And install guide, I believe. On those, because it's a factory replacement procedure, so I don't think we have a guide. They're identical to stock.
It's a factory install guide. Any recommendations for an aftermarket water pump replacement for a B9 S5? Audi is dealing with class action suit for owning water pump.
And there are multiple revisions in on those, so
I don't have anything to offer.
No, class action stuff usually it's stuff like this is generally resolved. Like the problem is it's resolved post production. So I would assume there's some later revision pumps coming out. I'm not super familiar with this lawsuit, but chances are good that's related to like vehicles needing warranty work or whatever that was more widespread than what would be acceptable. And then that just means Audi's likely already revised the pump and corrected the issue. So it's probably not going to be a better aftermarket pump. I can't think of many cases where I've seen better aftermarket pumps than an OEM.
Yeah, I mean the aftermarket's behind OEM.
Yeah. So there's some that have done like full metal impellers on some versions of things here and there, but I don't know offhand on these if that's a thing.
Foam versus cotton media as far as performance goes for an air filter. So the performance of an air filter is not really determined by what it's made from. It's determined by the size of the holes, the number of holes in the media. I know I haven't been a big fan of foam filters when I was younger, they were kind of popular, like HKS and ITG. I think in Europe had a lot of foam, but it was foam soaked with oil. And they were really messy. And my impression I know there's probably some really good foam filters out there. So cotton or paper media is much more of something that you see from the factory. Certainly paper is of the factory material of choice. But again, it's about the specifications. It's not as much about the media. So we use a cloth media of a certain size and porosity, and that's what we do. But by making the filter more porous, so you reduce its filtration, the fineness of its filtration by some amount, still within a safe range, and then you can substantially increase the flow. What's the best way to go about making the B8 S4 DSG transmission more bulletproof?
They kind of are. I mean, it's a very robust transmission. We have
Tough, yeah.
Remarkably good luck with it. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of the issues that you read about on some of the forums, I just from what we see here and in the shop and what we work on and what they're repairing over there. They've replaced a couple of them, but they've replaced a couple of like every transmission that's ever been made. So I don't think they're inherently weak, and what they put up with compared to what they were delivered stock is, they're pretty strong transmissions.
Yeah.
The mech units have issues sometimes. That's across the board with literally every transmission in the world. And I don't think it's necessarily a weak point on that transmission.
Yeah.
Fill with fluid and
Just maintenance. Yeah.
It's the best things made.
Preventative maintenance, change your fluids regularly. We've talked about that before here too. If you're, making a bunch more power than stock, you want to make sure your maintenance intervals keep up with that. So you will be doing, more frequent fluid changes, and DSGs do benefit greatly from having good, non-degraded fluids.
Good maintenance. Yeah. What mods would you recommend for track driving that do not negatively affect daily driving?
I know the answer to this one. Driver mod.
I don't think that's what he's asking.
Shit. All right.
Yeah, no, Nate's right though. Improving your driving talent or experience is the best thing you can do. The one of the biggest things that translates to more grip is what tires you're running. So if you can get a set of track wheels and tires that you swap out at the track, that won't affect your daily driving because you'll be swapping it out. Track pads are a similar modification. Things like our lowering springs and sway bars are very appropriate for track use. They substantially improve the performance of the car, but they're very streetable as well. Really, our entire catalog is designed to be pretty to be very street friendly as well as very track capable.
Yeah, I mean, our track prep here, when we set up our cars to go to the track for testing, is mostly, just some setup and brake pad swap.
Yeah.
We'll do fluid changes and whatnot, depending on how hard the car's been driven, when the last services and whatnot were done. But it's not a big effort to go from like our street setup to a track setup. And that's, they're pretty damn capable on track.
In counter to popular belief, a fast track car doesn't have to be really stiff and uncomfortable on the streets. Certainly, many race cars are.
And we're not talking like a race car, right? We're talking like
Yeah.
HPDE track event stuff, like a stock car on a track, essentially.
Yes. So if you want, stay away from our Motorsport line of products. Those are they're again streetable, but they're going to result in high levels of MVH and stiffness. But any of our Dynamic Plus products, our sway bars, or springs, all that stuff are going to be great on track and street.
And we do, we will be proponents of having some specific track specific stuff that you do run, like brake pads, are a huge. You're not going to find a pad that's going to be good on the street and good on the track.
No,
That just doesn't exist. There's no compound.
there's lots of companies that make it say.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, your daily driver trackable pad, and it's like a Metal Masters, Meantix, something or other garbage. But if you're actually on track and you know, on any of these Audis at least and Volkswagens, the brakes aren't sufficient enough to deal with a pad that's marginal.
Yeah. Does your throttle body kit for the RS3 come with silicone hoses? We do not have a throttle body kit for the RS3, do we?
No.
Nope.
Turbo.
Yeah, the turbo one.
With a turbo on that,
Yeah.
which comes with. It's also not a motor mount.
Yeah, we have a 4-inch turbo inlet, which has needs a 4-inch intake to go with it, and we have but no.
I think maybe you're thinking of Silly Rabbit. They have one. Malacca's used to have one.
Oh, they not do that anymore?
They got
Yeah, selling parts is a pain in the ass.
It really is.
Customers that can be very, very challenging to deal with. Patiently waiting for 034 Motorsport tuning support for my O3 S38 with forged internals. I can't stand the APR Stage 3 tune that's on it. Well, any thoughts, Nate?
I mean, we know it's on our list.
Yeah. The IS38.
The IS38 files are certainly something they're pretty high priority on the Mark 7 development. So
Yeah.
it's just something we gotta knock out.
Someone's asking about B9.5 Stage 3 tuning ETA.
That depends on year.
The 2023 stuff.
Yeah, that question is getting muddier to answer because there's a couple of different, the problem is now there's a couple of different generations of 9.5 as far as what can be calibrated and what can't right now. So there's a little bit of nuance there. So if it's a normal 9.5 that we can flash both ECU and TCU, we can get you set up imminently. If it's the later one, everybody's waiting on that one.
What's this mean? TTE810 Beta customer request? Question mark. Oh, should we? Yeah, I guess. I mean, if anyone's out there,
like we mentioned earlier, we're imminently releasing the 810 stuff. We've got, we're just wrapping up, some of our various octanes and altitude calibration stuff. So yeah, if you've got an 810, or particularly, we've got a handful of guys that are on our 710 file with 810s in the car already.
Yeah.
Just hit us up. We'd like to get you on the correct software for your configuration sooner than later. And we're at a position now where we can start very, very soon.
Email.
Social. You want social at? Okay.
Yeah. Social at 034motorsport.com.
Yeah. And if you want to be really helpful, you can include things like your VIN, your hardware list, and all that, just so we better qualify who we can, more quickly address.
That would be a dream.
Yeah.
I installed my Stage 1 93 octane tune last night. Took literally 20 minutes start to finish, and wow, what a difference.
Awesome.
Linear power and torque from idle to redline. The easiest increase in power I've ever dealt with. I love being able to shut off the idle stop and keep the exhaust open as well. Congrats on a great product.
Awesome. So I'm guessing it's a B9.
That would be correct.
Yeah. So and we love the Stage 1 stuff. You're not going to get a better bang for the buck, and just, of course, ease for install.
That's great feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Does the silicone tube from your B9 3.0 TP34 intake go over your newly released inlet, or does the inlet have a larger diameter? So the standard inlet upgrade that we've released will fit with any of the hoses you have now. Our super duper inlets, which is forthcoming very soon, will require a hose upgrade because the inlet diameter is much bigger. So our standard high flow inlet can be installed in a factory vehicle. So can our P34. So this is a factory configuration where all the sizes are standard size, so they all fit together. But when we use the super duper nomenclature, it means it's bigger than factory. So we will be offering all the adapters, different hose needs for the super duper inlets. Any plans for rear upgraded lower control arms for B9 S4? No. But why?
Those have density bushing in the rear.
They rip?
No,
They
but,
what?
No, but they have a bushing in the rear. So if someone increase their mod lips.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen a lot of need on the rear lowers in particular on these.
No, it's not
they're
really
they're a
cool.
fairly small bushing from the factory, so there's not a lot of give in them already.
The new website is nice, but I missed the product reviews and questions. Any chance to bring those back? Yes.
Yep, they're coming back.
It's been an unfortunate part of our transition as we've had some bigger issues to fix to keep the website working. For me, those reviews are very important, but they just haven't been as high a priority as some of the other projects. So they will definitely be back, and
And
we'll be importing.
Okay, as I was just going to mention, I don't believe we lost.
No,
it.
we won't.
It's all coming across.
That would be terrible. That'd be like 10 years of reviews and stuff that we would lose. This APR one was already answered. I have a B8.5 S4. Do I need a high pressure fuel pump to run ethanol, or can I just do the piston upgrade?
So the piston upgrade is the high pressure fuel pump.
Are people confused about
Because IE only sells a full pump.
Yeah, some companies only sell a full pump, but
the only thing that's upgraded about their high pressure fuel pump is the piston.
Yeah.
The piston is what's different.
Yeah.
So whether you buy a pump complete or you just buy the piston, you're only getting a piston upgrade.
Yep.
There's no additional flow from any other part. Like the housing of the pump doesn't flow more.
So
it's the piston.
Yeah, and technically either is the exact same thing from a performance and operations standpoint.
The piston may be like a third of the price.
Yeah. There are variations in piston diameter.
So there's some small variations in diameter, but there's only so big you can go before your cylinder wall thickness on those pumps is a problem.
The good options maximize the size. There's like pretty much one company out there that makes a smaller one for some reason. Is there anything in the works to beef up the RS5 transmission for Stage 3 Plus? We haven't seen a need for that.
No. I mean, we're seeing tires and axles be the limiting factor right now on all those. I don't think we've had a single transmission issue to date.
There's RS6 guys that apparently in Europe, a few RS5 guys have blown their front differential.
Yeah, well, there was an APR 4.0 T2 blew up some
front diffs. Yeah, but as far as power tuning goes, with how we launched and all that,
we have not had any.
Yeah, we have yet to have an issue.
And I believe APR corrected it by monitoring the torque.
Yeah, you can reduce the torque.
They were just running a ton of torque from the 4.0 T. Just hold on.
Yep.
When an ECU tune needs to be updated on the tuner's end for a different PCV version, I mean, that's something only a dealership can take.
It would. So I think what they're getting at is there were some ECU updates like on the B8 era to address some PCV issues, but it wasn't one wasn't dependent on the other. Like you would get an ECU update that would address some potential PCV issues, but it was just the ECU side. So I don't know that I've heard of a situation yet where there's been such a fundamental change to the PCV system that you needed an ECU tune to work alongside it. It's possible that's a thing, but usually, so to get to the root of the question here, I guess is we can generally provide all of the OEM updates that you would be getting from the dealer anyway. So chances are very good. If something like that came along anyway, we would probably have that file and would be able to update your ECU if you wanted to do the PCV update yourself. The only catch I can see is depending on where you live and your smog requirements. Sometimes if it's a recall update, that needs to get documented through a dealer so that it hits the DMV records. But yeah, there's lots of different aspects to that question. Usually they're independent, hardware versus software.
Is it a complicated process for you guys to repurpose interior buttons like cruise control for launch RPM, crackles, and engine sound, etc.?
It depends on the butt and what it does. Some cases we can. Some cases that button is connected literally only to another control module that has a, it handles the interaction of that button itself. So that's why we generally stick to things like the cruise control, because that's generally going to be a straight shot
Tied into the ECU.
to the ECU. Is going to have all of the states that switches in, and you're not going to have a lot of middlemen in between that and the ECU. So that's a pretty reliable one. And also we have to look at what buttons are in these cars most commonly. The most common one is going to be the cruise control. Most of those other buttons are like, oh, it comes with this, tech package, or it comes with some, optics package or something, and you get this extra button. If that's the case, then we have to then figure out who has those buttons. And
you can't just magically reprogram any button in the car through the ECU.
Right.
It has to be connected to a function of the ECU.
Yeah, there's got to be at minimum it has to be the signal from that button basically has to be transposed onto one of the networks that the ECU is on. So it would have to make its way to the drivetrain, FlexRay or CAN network that the ECU is residing on for us to be able to use it.
Like how cool! Like if you put how you put the side mirror adjuster button to the neutral position. And then you can push it left to turn boost down, and push it right, or more crackles or less crackles. But that's not connected to
yes.
ECU.
And almost I want to say post mid 2000s, none of those buttons are connected to the actual controllers. They all go to a chassis control unit or some sort of interior.
CAN bust.
Yeah, they're all CAN bust as quickly as they can be. So otherwise you'd have a trunk of wiring going.
Well, that's how it used to.
Yeah.
Early '90s cars, they used to do stereo installs. I mean, there was just trunks of
and
it adds a lot of weight.
You still get a fair bit of wiring, but these days it's you get a couple of network wires, power and ground, and then you just have little modules at each end of the car. Each component.
You can have 2 wires replace 100 wires with a CAN bus. I just answered that one. The best hybrid turbo for Mk7 R to run temps. So we will be releasing our tuning support for the EQT Vortex standard turbo shortly, and we have run temps with that.
Yep.
So we'll release more information about that. But our test car did a 10.9.
Yep.
It's
with a very
ridiculous
mild setup.
Yeah, it's total streetable setup. It's actually very reliable. So I don't know who EQT is using or where they're sourcing the turbo, but we've got a lot of miles on ours.
0 issues.
Holding up great. Is it going to be a while before the 23 S5 ECU is unlocked for tuning?
Okay, so we can talk about this one a little bit. There's no such thing as the ECU getting unlocked and knowing when that might happen. Basically, what has to happen is we need to find a way around the locks that are in place. Those locks are never going anywhere. So it's in its state. It's never going to change. Factory's never going to the lock's expired. You can flash it now.
Yeah.
So these are things that just take, an unknown amount of time to find your way around whatever factory security systems are in place, so that you can then load basically unsigned software onto the controller. So no, that's unfortunately no one. I don't know of anyone that has an answer to that question currently, and it's not the ECU right now that's locked. It is the TCU that is the restriction on those. And the TCU unfortunately has torque limiters, which come into play and affect the amount of power you can make, shift quality, and all that good stuff.
But what they really want to know is when do we think that'll happen? We don't have an answer.
No answer to that. Yep. But just keep in mind, it's not like we're sitting around waiting for some factory thing to open up.
However, we are going to release a work.
For the ECU side, we will have an interim solution for all of the 2023 B9.5 stuff. You just will not have a TCU solution for the time being.
Is the 8R SQ5 Stage 1 okay to pass California smog with the recent changes and with or without the recommended parts?
8R is B8.
Yeah.
So we have files for that are carb exempt. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so you can confidently run those. You can smog with those files.
Yep. Yep. We've done all the testing on that.
The
Yep.
none of our other products are carb approved, so things like intakes and you'd have to
On the
remove,
SQ5.
You'd have to remove. But I mean, they won't affect your tailpipe numbers, but they're not smog.
Yeah, it's literally so. We do have carb exemption on the B8 S4 version and of that intake, and it's all of the same tubes, all of the same components, but we have not, delivered a
Technically-
SQ5 to them for
Technically,
specific testing because it's a different shape of the tube.
It's technically different.
Yep.
But the intake's like 10 minutes to swap that out if you need to. From your racing setup to your street setup.
Yep.
Any more insight on the Mark 8 you would like to share? Anything we want to say? We've been working on these applications.
Yep, they're quick.
Very
They're
fast.
very potent for what they are. They're, I'd say, more tunable right now, it appears, than Mark 7 stuff. There's a little more headroom in them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, should be some good stuff coming very shortly.
Mm-hmm. I currently have your B9 tune, trans and ECU, stage 1. I use the 91 and 93 option, depending on 93 availability. Crackles, thumbs up. Launch mode, thumbs up. Shift pull, thumbs up. What's a shift pull?
Oh, sure. I mean, we do change the shifting, like
Like how it starts
characteristics,
through the
yeah.
shift? That could be, yeah. It's fun to say the least. Question: if and when there's an update by 034 on the tune, how am I notified? Is there a place to check the website for updates to the tune?
Yeah.
We email all customers who have ever flashed the relevant files with updates. So you will get an email from us. Even if you flash through a dealer, we still have your...
Yep. Yeah. And if it's, we're not going to like spam every little update. It's going to be if it's a notable, a feature update,
If it's
if there's something
if
that
it matters.
kind of, if there's something that changes on the product page, you'll get an update about that.
Yeah. Does 179mm crank pulley versus the 190 play a substantial role in exhaust gas temps? D8.5 3.0T, not tracking the car, just looking for more excitement on the street and extend catalyst life.
Yes, it does, because it's a direct correlation to the amount of air moving through the motor.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will obviously impact exhaust gas temperatures.
179 is going to be lower temps.
Yep. So,
Generally, the intake temps, everything will be lower. The 179, the amount of power you give is minimal.
Yep. And I don't know if you have a upper pulley or not, or just looking to be
Yeah.
lower. So
Still same applies. Though.
it all applies. It's all
It's
the
all
same.
just
Yeah.
a ratio.
Yeah, the faster you spin the charger, the more air you're moving, the hotter your EGTs are going to be, and that's why we always, contrary to the forum recommendations, we generally will err on the side of a smaller pulley unless you have a reason you want.
What do you guys think about RacingLines' new PCV catch can setup for the B9 S4? I've seen it. I don't really know much about it as far as how it functions or works. Generally, I would say there's no reason to question anything that RacingLine does. But I just can't.
Yeah.
I haven't taken a close look at it. That is, from our experience, it's a little tricky of an application. The way it's configured, you need check valves in all the right places. You can, if you're not careful, cause more problems than you solve by doing things like pressurizing the crankcase or blocking the crankcase.
Provisions for it to pull
That's
vacuum
right.
under certain conditions.
Yeah. So, but I believe we are installing one here, so we can evaluate it as well. Maybe I'll know more about that in a week or two. What's ahead for 034 in the coming years? Any area you'd like to focus more or less on? Yeah, so as far as the next 3 to 5 years at 034 Motorsport, we will continue to focus heavily on tuning and calibration. Our goal is to be the market leader for tuning and calibration in the Volkswagen Audi sector. I would say that was a position once held by APR that they no longer hold. And there are some good companies currently operating and leading tuning and calibration for Volkswagen Audi. I strongly believe we are one of the leading companies, but there's a lot more.
There's a lot on the table still.
There's a lot of market share. There's a lot more customers that we can access. So we believe and feel strongly that we bring a really good product with a very proven approach that gives customers incredible experiences and unleashes new levels of performance that the industry has never seen before. And we want to keep doing that. So that's an exciting area for us. We will be delving more into electrification.
Yep.
There's word now that the next, the Mark 9 GTI, when it comes out, possibly 6 years, will be fully electric. I think these stories always change. Right?
The rumor mill is strong.
Well, Volkswagen, even the CEO of Volkswagen could be saying it in a speech, and then 2 years from now, he gets replaced by something else. Changes.
Yeah.
I remember hearing the Mark 8 was supposed to be a hybrid.
Yep.
Obviously, it never. But electrification is a big thing for the automotive industry. Virtually every OEM has committed to converting entirely to electric within the next 10 or 15 years or sooner. Even Ford and Chevy.
All of them.
Supposedly, Ford fired one of their V8 development teams because they have no plans to develop any new V8s, which is crazy.
I had heard of that. Yeah, I had heard of that. A lot of the development teams for the ICE engines ICE drivetrains are starting to wither away.
And I know electrification isn't real popular. I would say probably less than 10% of the people listening to this right now want electrification. But unfortunately, me, you, none of us control anything other than what we do. So even if all 75 of us decide never to buy an electric car, Ford's still switching over, Volkswagen's still switching over, Audi, BMW, they're all moving in that direction. So we will as well. We will continue to be doing ICE performance for at least another 10, 15 years. I don't know how much longer I don't know if I'll still be doing 034 stuff in 15 years. I hope to not be doing this for the rest of my life. But for the time being, I'm here. I'm enjoying it. But sure, at some point, some young millennial whippersnapper will be doing something with 034, and hopefully maybe it'll be hovering cars that quantum modified.
According to Back to the Future, we're way behind the time right now.
Well, there's some technology that hasn't been developed yet, but if we can tap into gravity, which nobody really understands,
Should get on that.
Yeah, be some good money in that. For all I know, 034 will be focused on building retaining walls to keep ocean water from flooding.
Oh God.
Residential neighborhoods. There's probably a lot of money in that. And then we will continue to develop our excellent line of hardware products and our substantive, holistic approach to transforming a vehicle's performance into something that's more fun to drive, that's still comfortable, that's very fast, reliable, that kind of OEM plus experience. So there's plenty for us to do there. I don't know. Did I miss anything? I think that's kind of...
Yeah, it's again just all the speculation on where things are going to be that far out.
There's BMW, which we're working on. It's hard to say. I don't want to commit to saying we're going to be doing lots of BMW stuff in the future. We're seeing how it's going. Yeah. So, anyways, but we are doing BMW as well. I don't know what this APR comment is about. So, great question. We appreciate that. If there's anything you think we should be doing more of, please. I'm about to install my first 034 tune. Do you have any advice for using a battery support unit power supply versus a charger or connecting jumper cables to a running car? We typically recommend the C-Tech 20 amp charger, which is a typically we would recommend 20 amp type charger minimum.
Yeah, for most cars, that's sufficient.
If you're running an 8 amp charger, it's the 8 amps is not enough to address the current load that the car uses while it's
Just on.
flashing. So you want a 20 amp. I don't see anything wrong with connecting to another car. That's perfectly okay, right?
It's generally fine.
Because you can get a lot more than 20 amps through that.
Yeah.
You could always just have a spare battery that you connect with jumper cables.
Yeah, I mean that's a limited additional supply if
Yeah.
you need a longer amount of power. It's going to drain, but
you could have a charger on that. And,
yeah.
But I
We
think
again,
the C-Tech's around $200.
yeah, like 160, 170.
There's
There's
You know, I would say if you're going to get a charger too, make sure you get a reasonably decent one. There's some. It's not just about the current supply; it's how clean the voltage is coming in. If you get some gnarly,
yeah.
cheap, ancient battery charger, it's
When someone just
really dirty
throw
power.
a ton of voltage at
yeah, or you know, way outside of what a properly designed charging circuit should be. They can cause more problems than they're worth.
Do you guys prefer any specific oil brands? So in our service department, ZTF Automotive, we have 2 locations. We use currently Motul and Liqui Moly, and that's our current supplier source, which are both excellent. But honestly, there's just a lot of good.
There's a lot of good options, and so I mean, there's a lot of pretty high spec certifications these days on oils. So if read the fine print on back, it's really boring. But if you see, if you're concerned with this kind of stuff, there's a number of standardized certifications that are quite stringent, and you'll have a minimum spec that your OEM requests, and you can see if the oil you're looking at least meets or surpasses that, and then the rest is kind of just fluff on top of that and how they formulate their stuff.
For how long will you support the older Audis like B6, B7? As long as you keep buying the parts, we will keep selling them. Yep. So if you go on our website currently, you can buy quite a few parts for Audis from the early 80s. There's a lot of B5 parts, B6, B7 parts there are some that we've discontinued because they just slowed down. So, 034 Motorsport does not exist to store parts on the shelves for long periods of time. So if they don't sell, we have no choice but to discontinue. And we cannot run this business by supporting 2 or 3 people a year who want, to buy a product. So, and that's just due to economics. It's not a philosophical thing. But as long as you guys keep buying the parts, we will keep selling them. We probably won't be releasing any new products for those applications, but we will keep the ones we have. When are we getting the S34 intake for the B9 SQ5? It's coming soon. I don't have a date, but it's in manufacturing. It's in production. Right? I have a friend who runs your Stage 2 single pulley tune on 91, and the car is getting a little over 400 wheel on the dyno. Is this accurate?
That really depends on the dyno.
It does, but that doesn't sound out of the ordinary.
It's not
for 90.
It's not super crazy, no. Yeah. I mean, it's that sounds a little high in my opinion, but
yeah.
Again, dynos are a tool that is very difficult to compare to other dynos. That's something you need to do it before and after and use it kind of as your own measurement device. But to internet share dyno numbers, it's a frustratingly difficult thing that we struggle with because everybody wants them for all of our products. But to give you a number that, is really real world, has any real world weight, it's a tough thing to get our heads around or get anybody's heads around because literally all the dynos read differently.
Yeah, I mean, generally, what you should expect is what we publish on our website. That's kind of the number that we would tell you that you should be close.
It's really the delta that matters. It's not the number at the end. It's on stock.
Right.
What does it run after you flashed it? Those are the numbers that matter.
That's a good point. Right. So yeah, it's kind of the before and after difference is what you should really be looking I've been hearing about issues with valve flow and lots of power up top on B9s with the TTE810 because of the back pressure. Have you guys seen this?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's every motor's got a limit. You get to a certain point of manifold pressure and RPM. And,
Every motor valve flows.
yeah, and spring tension or spring compression, and yeah, you're going to get to a point where they start flooding. That's every single motor will do it.
Yeah, so I think you'll whoever asks this question, everybody, you'll start seeing more valve spring action, more valve spring modifications coming for the B9.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance. It's like once you get to that point too, it's like you're usually at a pretty high pressure, inside the manifold. Where adding more boost and fixing it with tighter valve springs, it gets to be diminishing returns pretty quickly.
Yeah, the valve spring is a good fix for RPM related valve flow. So the momentum in the valve.
Yeah.
Retainer.
Yeah, which this is part of that, right? Because you're fighting the momentum, and you've got that additional pressure you've got to close against. That's why it shows up at the top end.
But this would be like having an air filter that's too restrictive, so focusing on sucking harder through the air filter.
That's exactly.
It's not the best approach. The best approach would be simply to reduce the restriction or reduce the pressure. But then there is an RPM related component as well.
To be clear, though, on our 710 files public, we will not see this.
On the released files?
Yeah.
No, because it's calibrated so we don't hit it.
Yeah,
No,
that's the question.
development we certainly hit it. Yeah.
You won't see it on our file because we tune around it. So
We're doing everything we can to stay within all of the physical constraints of the setup. So,
you should not see this on a production file.
Could we request way more boost and force it into a valve float situation? Absolutely. Same with RPM. We, if you run these over 7,500 RPM, I think is what we found.
And you're saying on a competitor tune, their customers are saying they're seeing this?
Yeah, it's been discussed that at sea level, as you're making more boost, you may need valve springs.
Well,
You shouldn't need valve springs on the production tune. If there's a valve spring tune, then you would need valve springs with that. But if the tune doesn't specify valve springs, then it should be happening.
Good about
So currently stage 3 on B9 S4, E60 file, the car goes into limp mode in every gear due to overboosting code. E85 file, it happens only on launch. Is there a fix for this coming in?
I know we've seen a few guys with this. We are working on some of the boost control stuff. This sounds like it's way out of spec though. So we would. I don't know where you're at in the support system. If you've
definitely get in support.
Contact us, but certainly contact tuning at. We would want to see some logs to see kind of where things are at. I did have someone with all of these symptoms in this exact same way that had a turbo blanket installed on the turbo that was actually like jammed up against the wastegate actuator. So there was essentially a very, very sluggish to almost non-responsive boost control system. So we need a little more information around that.
So the mic is a bit.
Are we clipping or?
So check the mic setup real specific.
Everything's showing.
It is going into the rod.
That's no different. That's normally where I normally hit it. I can soften it up a little.
Yeah, turn it down. That's clipping. Big thanks from this dog and woof woof and meow meow to the ladies. Oh damn! Have we had a meow meow?
No.
We're creature. What is this? Creature gender defined here,
sir? This is a family show.
Yeah,
Let's be careful here.
What the connotations are here.
Well, meow meow right back at you.
Whoa.
Yeah. Thank you for always joining us.
Yes.
Hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
For the people that aren't on YouTube stream, they're going to be very.
Yeah, no, we do have a friend. Yeah. These do come through YouTube.
I don't know how much you want to get into this one, but how would you say your tune differs from?
Yeah, I saw that one. We can't because we don't
really know anything about their tunes other than what we hear.
Never looked at any of the other tunes out there. We roll our own, calibrations from the ground up with our own, philosophies and practices. So I have no idea what they're doing.
They're a serious competitor of ours, and generally I feel like we lead them to market, but they are doing things as well. So
yep. yeah, they've got some applications where they're ahead. We've got others, so
They do produce some good products. There's been times where they've released bad products and they've been able to fix it and improve it, which is commendable.
that's, yeah.
Not all companies in our industry have always done that. I know our tuning philosophy. I know our processes. I know the sensibility and expertise that we bring, and I'm very proud and confident in that. But I do know there are quite a few customers that choose their product over ours. So at the end of the day, make your decision, look into it. I just don't think you won't find a more supportive or enthusiastic company than 034 Motorsport to work with. And I know the brilliant minds, some of the best minds in the industry are working here and helping us do some pretty incredible things that we do all in here in-house. There's no smoke and mirrors at 034. It's our tuning, it's our calibrations at our facility using our IP, and it's on our own server. We're in control of every step of the process.
Yeah, right. Yeah, reverse engineering the ECU, writing all the software that we are implementing inside the ECU, in addition to any calibration changes. That's all under this roof. So it's. I'm not saying it's not either, but this is the question. This is always the problem. We don't. We don't know everyone else's workflow. We can't speak. We're not here to speak down on anyone else. We're here to tell you what we do and how we do it.
And maybe speak down a little bit.
Well, if there's reason,
but not too.
But not. Yeah.
Comparably for a tuning company, not a spy company.
Yeah, we don't have like embedded spies, and we could also be shady AF and go and try and extract everything we can from it. I've never read out another ECU from these.
It's I actually tell both tuning and hardware engineering to worry about it.
It's not who knows why they would have done something the way they did. They may have a whole different philosophy that's outside of something we do. We have our own.
That would be actually an interesting question to ask the market. So go on one of the groups you like and ask that question. I'm not afraid to challenge you to do that.
Yeah,
and see what the people say, because I think that our customers may have a good sense of that.
Right, and I feel like we are by far the most open and not just open and available. Solution you're going to find out there.
Yeah, and Nate is not actually a paid actor, even though he's so handsome.
I'm not here just for the
dynamic that you'd think
clickbait
that he's just some guy I hired from a modeling agency, but Nate is actually the guy that's behind, him and his team.
I have a fantastic team.
Are behind all of this. They're doing things that seem impossible. So you have access to this every week, and you can ask him anything you want.
Yep.
The Nate is bald. Stoic. That is for sure.
Stoic?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
All right, I think we're almost out of time. We have one more minute.
That's my kids around, and I can turn non-stoic very quickly.
Oh, R8 sway bar.
Oh, hey, yeah, we have a product.
This is our new Mark 1 R8 sway bar. It fits and Mark 1, Mark 1.5 R8 sway bar. It fits V10 and V8 applications. This is the most highly developed and tested sway bar product we've ever created. The factory R8 is very good, and it was not easy to create a line of products that made it handle better than factory. So these sway bar and spring products were all tested and validated at the track by our in-house professional racing driver, and equipped with our R8 products. A Mark 1 R8 is probably the closest thing to a proper handling sports car from Audi with our products you will ever see. From the factory, it's not. It pushes really bad from the factory. It's still really fast, but
they dial in a lot of push into that.
And so once you outfit your car with our springs and sway bars and our various alignment components, you could literally experience what a world class sports car should drive like, and frankly, properly set up race car.
And it's and to be clear, this is not a track This is a obviously
totally
streetable,
wonderfully streetable,
very well mannered.
and very fast on track. I've put at least 10,000 miles on these parts in our R8s. I love how that car rides and
We went
drives.
through a lot of revisions on this.
And we also are the only sway bar in the market that's adjustable,
Front and rear.
front and rear. So, anyways, these are now live on the website. If you have an R8, you need these sway bars. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh man, I just noticed the lights in the shop. We're gonna have to redo this whole.
No, it's
You moved that.
with our springs and the sway bar, it transforms the handling of the Mark 1, Mark 1.5.
Yeah.
Right. Cheers. Have a great week. I think we'll see you next week.
Yeah, for those of you that had Thanksgiving, enjoy your leftovers.
Cheers.
See you next week.